Deion Sanders played for one team, covered the other team's Hall of Famer, and won a Super Bowl. So the other team said, how do we beat that team? We can't get their quarterback. Let's go get the next best thing. Let's go get Deion Sanders. And then he went to the other team and covered the other Hall of Famer and won a Super Bowl with them. And then, just when he—
Hold up right there. Quit the discussions. Ignore the chatter, because the evidence just dropped online. And it's a game changer for all those who've been trying to argue that Shedeur Sanders isn't the right fit in Cleveland this offseason. While the critics have been busy tossing around names and speculating about Malik Willis or some other quarterback who they wish could swoop in and take Shadeur's place, there's a guy who truly knows the situation. This is someone who shares a locker room with Shedeur Sanders, practices alongside him, and even hangs out with him outside of football. That's the real perspective we need to consider. I just hit up a huge podcast and laid everything out clearly, leaving no room for doubt. We've got the proof. We've got the complete analysis. This is the place to dive deep into why this moment is so significant and why Quinshon Judkins' comments on the Arena Gridiron podcast go beyond just a catchy phrase. That's a declaration. This is a statement. The locker room is making its voice heard, drowning out any reporter, analyst, or external chatter that tries to break through. Here, we provide you with the verified, sourced, on-the-ground insights you need to stay ahead of the story. Smash that like button right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you're always in the loop with every exciting moment of the Shedeur Sanders era as it happens. All right, let's dive right in because there's a ton to unpack here, and everything is leading us to the same conclusion. Check out what Quinshon Judkins really shared on the Arena Gridiron podcast. We need you to focus on every single word because this is not just filler content. A star player is giving us the inside scoop on what the atmosphere is like at the Cleveland Browns facility at this moment. When directly asked about the experience of having Shedeur Sanders as the Browns quarterback, Judkins responded without hesitation. He was straightforward. He didn't throw out one of those typical diplomatic non-answers that players often use to shield a teammate without really backing him up. Number. Quinshon Judkins stated, and we quote him directly, "Man, it's fun. Shedeur is an incredible talent. He's got a great vibe. He's a blast to hang out with. Both of us are super focused on the details and dedicated to our practice. We put in plenty of hours beyond the walls of the building." When the follow-up question hit, the one that everyone's been buzzing about all offseason, whether Shedeur Sanders is a leader in that locker room, Judkins stood firm without a hint of hesitation. He mentioned, "Absolutely. To be a quarterback for any team, you need to have that locker room presence and a strong voice." It seems like many of the players have faith in him. I believe that connection between them really holds significant value. Go ahead and review that as often as necessary, because each sentence in that response directly confronts the story crafted by external sources who haven't set foot in that facility for even a moment. Let's dive into who Quinshon Judkins really is, and why his insights hold more weight than any pundit on the sports media scene today. Judkins, a second-round selection from Mississippi, stands out as one of the top-rated running backs in his draft class. A player who, during his college career, rushed for almost 3,000 yards in just 2 seasons at Miss before transferring and completely dominating the college football scene. Multiple draft analysts had him projected to go in the first round, but he ultimately landed at pick 36. The Browns snagging him at that position was seen as a real coup in the 2025 draft class. He's the type of running back that transforms the entire offense. The presence dynamic in open field, unyielding in short yardage, skilled in the aerial attack to truly be a legitimate dual threat from the backfield. Last season, despite dealing with the most chaotic offensive situation in the NFL and the typical growing pains of a rookie running back adjusting to the speed of the professional game, he demonstrated enough in limited action to validate all the reasons he was a highly sought-after prospect coming out of the draft. PFF has pinpointed Judkins and tight end Harold Fannin Jr. as the key offensive cornerstones for the Browns to develop over the coming years. When a player of that level, someone with so much ahead of him in his career, steps onto a big stage and declares to everyone that he has faith in his quarterback, and that the entire locker room stands behind him too. You can't just brush that off. That's something you take in. What really amplifies the impact of Judkins' statement is the deeper context of the journey these two young men have shared together. The bond between Quinshon Judkins and Shedeur Sanders traces back to the inaugural day of rookie minicamp in May 2025. Right from the start, these two clicked in a way that seemed effortless and genuine, not contrived or staged. A now iconic clip made its rounds on social media during rookie minicamp, going viral for all the right reasons. A clip featuring Shedeur Sanders making a catch on Quinshon Judkins during practice, but it fails to properly display his socks, in line with the NFL's stringent uniform regulations. Shedeur didn't hold back. He approached his new teammate and said straight up, "Bro, put on your socks. Welcome to the NFL. You've got to display the stripes." Judkins, clearly puzzled, fired back, "What are you even saying? I've got socks on, you know." Shedeur pinpointed the exact problem for him, and Judkins, fully aware of what was happening, delivered that unforgettable reaction that every Browns fan who watched the clip will always remember. The conversation was both hilarious and insightful, offering a spontaneous glimpse into the true nature of Shedeur Sanders as a leader. Not the type of leader who craves the spotlight, making grand speeches and seeking attention. A leader who is calm and observant, always ready to support others. He pays attention to the little things and takes action to safeguard those around him, even when no one is asking for help. He proclaimed himself a W leader in his own words during that same live stream. In that instant, the whole Browns fan base got its first true look at who this kid really was beyond the football field. In Week 16 of the 2025 season, the relationship faced its toughest challenge yet during a gut-wrenching game against the Buffalo Bills, where the Browns suffered a heartbreaking 23-20 loss. At the start of that game, Shedeur took a snap, sensed the pressure, scanned his options, and noticed that the backside slant route was being defended by two Bills players. With his options limited, he opted for a swing screen to Quinshon Judkins and made the throw. Bills linebacker, Matt Milano, a seasoned pro who clearly studied the scouting report, diagnosed the play flawlessly before the snap and was right at the line of scrimmage as soon as Judkins caught the ball. The collision was intense. Judkins hit the ground and didn't bounce back up like he usually does after a tackle. He got put in an air cast, was carted off the field, and later found out he had a dislocated ankle along with a fractured fibula. Injuries abruptly cut his rookie season short, leaving a cloud of uncertainty hanging over his availability for the start of 2026. It's going to take 4 to 5 months of recovery. A young man's inaugural professional season wraps up in the most unfortunate manner, all stemming from a play that was beyond anyone's control. After the game, Shedeur Sanders faced the reporters and shared a statement that revealed everything you need to understand about the strength of that friendship and the character of this young quarterback. He mentioned, "It was painful when Quinshon went down. Quinshon and I were in the room yesterday, chatting about life and everything else, because that's just who he is. Understanding that he suffered that injury, it was truly heartbreaking. I'm feeling pretty down about throwing it away. It really stings, you know? It really stings." He was weighed down by guilt over a play that any football analyst reviewing the tape would confirm was the right call. He experienced his teammates' pain as though it were his own burden to bear. That's more than just a solid quarterback. That person is solid. Good people with that kind of character create the trust and loyalty that inspire locker rooms to rally behind a leader in tough times. When Quinshon Judkins appears on the Arena Gridiron podcast just days after finishing his rehab and returning to the field, and the first thing he says about his quarterback is that it's fun, that many of the guys have faith in him, and that their bond is significant, you know you're getting an authentic response, not some rehearsed PR line. You're getting the real deal from someone who's faced a season-ending injury, with Shedeur Sanders right there in his corner. This is someone who truly understands the character of the guy taking snaps and is just laying it all out there. From the very beginning, we've made it clear on this channel. Shedeur Sanders has truly earned the respect and trust of those who count the most. Forget the media, the analysts, and those hot take merchants who toss around quarterback names every offseason just to see what might land. The squad, the folks in the facility, Let's take a step back and examine the entire scene of support that's gathering around Shedeur Sanders as we head into the 2026 season. The Judkins interview wasn't just a standalone event. This is just one piece of a larger narrative, a collection of statements from respected figures that together illustrate a locker room fully backing this young quarterback, something Cleveland hasn't experienced in a long time. Let's kick things off with the biggest one, the remark that had everyone in the NFL buzzing during Super Bowl week. Myles Garrett, the current NFL Defensive Player of the Year and the record holder for the most sacks in a single season with 23 in 2025, stands as the cornerstone of the Cleveland Browns roster. He's not just a key player for his team, he's a significant figure in the entire National Football League. During a recent appearance on Micah Parsons' podcast, just before Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco, Parsons posed a direct question to him. Was Shedeur Sanders the player in Cleveland? Myles Garrett confidently stated, "That's the guy we're focusing on. We're going to give him a chance to show that he's the one." He mentioned, "We're not handing out that title until someone goes out there and earns it." It was highlighted that Sanders was the final player on the field at the conclusion of 2025, showcasing moments that the organization has faith in. When Myles Garrett, the most celebrated defensive player in the NFL, the guy who needs to secure a championship before his career wraps up and has every reason to push the team to nail the quarterback situation, takes a seat on a national stage and highlights Shedeur Sanders. That's more than just a compliment. That's a solid endorsement. That's the locker room's voice coming through its most powerful spokesperson. Todd Monkin is the guy who stepped into the Cleveland Browns facility as head coach, bringing with him a wealth of offensive knowledge and a level of big game experience that surpasses any coach this organization has brought on in recent history. Monkin dedicated 3 years to the role of offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, leading Lamar Jackson to the most effective and powerful offensive season of his career. Throughout the 2023 season, he developed a system that was adaptable to any quarterback's unique abilities, innovative enough to exploit defenses in unprecedented ways, and effective enough to make the most of every asset on the roster, no matter how they appeared on paper. What makes Shedeur Sanders' arrival in Cleveland so exciting is this. Monkin attempted to select Shedeur during his time in Baltimore. He was involved in the Ravens' evaluation process, where Shedeur was rated highly enough to be a target in the 5th round. However, Sanders advised the Ravens against drafting him, as he didn't want to sit behind Lamar Jackson. He was already aware of what Shedeur was capable of. He already had the tape. He was already filled with conviction. When Monkin showed up at the Browns' practice facility for his first day, he greeted Shedeur Sanders with a warm hug, playfully tugging on his arm and saying, "We tried to draft you last year, for God's sake." Everything fell into place. That was anything but a typical coach-to-player interaction. It was two individuals who were destined to collaborate, finally coming together in the same space. When Monkin chatted with Cleveland 19 reporter Cameron Justice about Shedeur, he remarked, "You can see the playmaking ability. He definitely stands out as a playmaker. His movement in the pocket is one of a kind, effortlessly locating receivers as he scans downfield. That's what I really appreciate about him." A new head coach who once tried to draft you is now publicly telling the media what he loves about your game before OTAs have even started. That's not a coach who's going to undermine this kid's potential. That's a coach who's been anticipating this chance. Let's address the elephant in the room head on. This channel is all about giving you the complete picture, not just the highlights that make us feel good. Deshaun Watson is the elephant in the room, casting a significant shadow over the 226 quarterback competition, whether we want to acknowledge it or not. At Todd Monken's introductory press conference, Andrew Berry made it clear that Watson is anticipated to remain on the roster through 2026. Monkin, in a different interview, made a statement that certainly gave every Shedeur supporter in Cleveland something to think about. He pointed out that Watson was once a Pro Bowl player and an elite talent in this league, expressing the staff's desire to reconnect with that level of performance. The Browns are on the hook for $46 million in salary for Watson in 2026. He's back in the gym, training with quarterback coach Quincy Avery after sitting out the entire 2025 season due to 2 Achilles surgeries. He's shared clips of him making throws. The comeback narrative is unfolding right before our eyes, and Monkin has been frustratingly vague during press conferences, dodging the question of whether Shedeur will be the starter. His use of uncertain language has left Cleveland fans feeling completely exasperated. Here's the key point you need to grasp, and this is what sets this channel apart from all the rest. The language that remains to be determined is typical for the NFL offseason, coming from a first-year head coach who hasn't conducted a single OTA practice yet. It would be a huge mistake for Monkin to step into his introductory press conference and declare any quarterback as the Week 1 starter without having seen them in a single padded practice or evaluated his entire roster in a real game situation. Before free agency unfolds, before the draft takes place, and before there's a solid understanding of how these players fit into his system, stating that the outcome is still to be determined isn't a knock on Shedeur Sanders. A coach executing his responsibilities with precision and care. NFL Network insider Cameron Wolfe has confirmed what many have suspected. The Browns are focusing on bolstering their offense in the draft instead of chasing a quarterback. He also mentioned that there remains optimism for Shedeur Sanders in Cleveland, particularly with Todd Monkin stepping in as the new head coach. Wolfe pointed out that Monkin's offense brings greater flexibility, which could enable Shedeur to showcase his playmaking skills more effectively than he did under Kevin Stefanski. An insider with connections within the organization is revealing that the internal situation matches the external backing being shown by Myles Garrett, Quinshon Judkins, and the young quarterback himself. Here's the reality of Watson that no one discussing this competition is willing to confront directly. The player has appeared in 19 games since the Cleveland Browns gave him the biggest fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. His total QBR of 33.1 while in Cleveland would sit at the very bottom of the league in any qualifying season. He's dealt with 2 Achilles tears on the same leg. He underwent shoulder surgery on his throwing arm. He underwent ACL repair surgery. He hasn't stepped onto the field for a regular season snap since October 2024. So when the 2026 season begins, it'll be almost 2 full calendar years since he last played in a live game. The player he was at his best in Houston is not the same as who he is today. A new head coach with a clear offensive vision isn't going to revive a career that's been torn apart by injuries and time by choosing to play that player over a young, healthy, talented quarterback who just made the Pro Bowl and has the support of his own teammates. The competition will be intense, just like it is in every aspect of professional football, where nothing is handed out without a fight. Shedeur Sanders is stepping into 2026 with all the momentum, and those who truly understand the landscape are backing that up without a doubt. We should definitely take a moment to recognize Shedeur Sanders' comments regarding the Monkin hire and the quarterback situation. His composure and perspective in this situation revealed just as much about his readiness as any stat line ever could. During his meeting with reporters at the Pro Bowl in San Francisco, Sanders discussed the competition with Watson and the vacant quarterback position under Monkin. His reply was precisely what you'd hope to hear from a promising young franchise quarterback. He mentioned that he was approaching it one day at a time. He mentioned that setting small goals paves the way for achieving long-term success. He mentioned that he needs to demonstrate his worth daily, and that's the expectation set for him. He talked about his early bond with Monkin, emphasizing that their connection feels authentic, stemming from their conversations. The new head coach definitely brings a positive energy, and it seems like their connection is genuine. He pointed out that it's really impressive that Monkin got to work with Lamar Jackson and achieved what he did, showing that he recognizes the caliber of coach he's now teamed up with and views this as a real opportunity instead of a challenge. This quarterback remains unfazed by the chaos around him. This quarterback isn't seeking approval from anyone outside himself. This young man has emerged from one of the toughest rookie situations in recent NFL history, proving his resilience and determination. Who emerged from the intense scrutiny, the chaos, the fifth-round disrespect, the absence of first-team reps, and the public debates, only to come out stronger with a Pro Bowl selection, an increasing reputation in the locker room, and a head coach who had his eye on him before he even had the chance to coach him. The groundwork is being established, and the key voices are expressing themselves with clarity.